Welcome to my YouTube channel, Sir Axi lang. Quarter 3, Quadrilaterals. Lesson 1, Quadrilaterals that are Parallelogram. Quadrilateral is a closed plane figure consisting of 4 line segments or sides. These sides may or may not be congruent and may or may not be parallel. So, ang sinasabi, ang quadrilateral daw ay binubuo ng 4 na line segment. So, halimbawa, ito, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, this is a quadrilateral. So, meron siyang line segment. So, we have line segment 1, 2, 3, 4. Ang sabi ay it may or may not be congruent or may not be parallel. So, pwedeng yung sukat ay magkakasing haba, pwede rin namang hindi, or pwede rin namang sila ay parallel to one another. Okay. So, paano mapapangalanan or ano ang pangalan ng ating quadrilateral? So, ang pangalan ng quadrilateral, we are using the capital letters of the alphabet. So, let's name this quadrilateral as quadrilateral A, B, C, D. So, ang pagpapangalan ng quadrilateral ay sunod-sunod sa kanyang vertices. Sunod-sunod ang pangalan or ang letters. So, it can be clockwise or it can be counterclockwise. So, again, ang ating pangalan ng quadrilateral ay quadrilateral A, B, C, D. Or pwede rin siyang in symbol ay ganito. Basta four-sided symbol. Tapos A, B, C, D. So, this is the symbol for quadrilateral. Now, ang sides natin, we can name it the sides using the letters because it is a line segment. So, ang ating sides of the quadrilateral, we have side AB. We have 4 sides. We have AB. Ang symbol ng side, okay. We have side BC, katulad ng sa line segment. We have also side CD. At katulad din ng yung last ay side DA. Ngayon, pwede ba siyang magkapalit? Pwede. So, pwede siyang side BA, pwedeng side CB, pwedeng side DC, or pwede ring side AD. Okay, so yan ang pangalan ng ating 4 sides. So, lagyan natin dito ng OR. Okay? Now, how about our angles? Okay. Sa angles, okay, ang symbol ng ating angle ay ganito. So, pag nilagyan natin ng S, ang basa ay angles. So, this is the symbol for angles. Now, ang ating angles, ito yung tinatawag na vertices. So, pwedeng ito, yung sulok, ang vertices. Yung sulok, pinagtagpuan ng lines. So, we have here A, B, C, D. That is our angle. So, we can have angle A, angle B, angle C, and angle D. Ngayon, sa ating angles, gumamit tayo ng capital letters na tig-isa lang. Pero, ang mas precise at ang mas tamang pagpapangalan ng angle is by the use of 3-letter word or 3-letter name. So, paano yon? Tingnan nyo si angle A. Nasaan si angle A? Ito. So, si angle A ay nasa pagitan ni D at ni B. So, ang angle na form niya, simula kay B, kay A, kay D. So, yun ang angle na yon. So, pwede siyang pangalanan natin na angle BAD. So, BAD. Or pwede rin naman nating baligtarin na DAB. So, angle DAB. So, itong tatlong to, pare-pareho lang yan. Kasi, you are just talking or ang pinatutuunan lang natin ay si angle A. So, kapag gagamit kayo ng 3-letter name, dapat yung angle na tinutukoy nyo, yun ang letter na nasa gitna. So, si angle B, pwede nating sabihin si angle B na angle ABC, o kaya naman ay CBA. Angle CBA. So, as long as si B nasa gitna. Then, angle C, pwede natin siyang i-name na BCD, angle BCD, or pwede rin namang pabaliktad, DCB, angle DCB. Tapos, si angle D, the last one, itong angle na to, pwede siyang CDA, angle CDA, or pwede ring angle ADC, angle ADC. So, ito yung paraan ng pagpapangalan ng sides at angles ng quadrilateral. Okay, in a quadrilateral, we need to identify the consecutive sides, consecutive angles, opposite sides, and opposite angles. So, in our 4 sides, meron diyang consecutive. So, consecutive ay yung magkasunod. Magkasunod na side. Okay. So, pwedeng ang consecutive side mo ay si AB and BC. So, that is your first consecutive sides. Sunod, si BC. So, BC, ang kasunod niya ay si CD. Then, pwede rin na si CD and DA. At pwede rin naman na si DA and AB. So, ito ang ating consecutive sides, magkasunod. AB, BC, BC, CD, CD, DA, DA, AB. So, this is our consecutive sides. Now, for our consecutive angles. Sa consecutive angles, magkasunod si angle A at si angle B. Then, si angle B at si angle C. Then, si angle C at si angle D. And last, si angle D at si angle A. So, that is our consecutive angles. Now, let's go to opposite sides. So, pag sinabing opposite, magkatapat. So, ang katapat ni AB ay si DC. So, dalawa lang yung pair natin. Ang opposite side ay si AB and DC. At yung isa pang opposite sides, ayon, si AD and BC. So again, pwedeng magkabaliktad dyan, pwedeng BA and CD, pwede rin namang DA and CB. So yon ang ating opposite sides. Tapos, sa atin namang opposite angles, so yung magkatapat na vertex. So, ito naman yung ating opposite angles. So, yun naman ang ating opposite angles. So, for our opposite angle, we have angle A and angle C. We also have angle D and angle B. How about diagonal of a quadrilateral? So, diagonal is a line segment that connects opposite angles. So, kanina, we have opposite angles, angle A and angle C. So, if we are going to connect this angle, we form a line segment. Then also, if we're going to connect these two opposite angle, we also have a diagonal. So, in a quadrilaterals, we have two diagonals. Kasi we have two pairs of opposite angles. So, we have two diagonals. We have line segment AC, and we have the line segment DB. So, this is the diagonal of quadrilateral. Now, aside from diagonal, we can also have the sum of all angles. Measures of all the sums of all angles. Okay. So, in a quadrilateral, so we have four angles. The sum of angle A plus angle B, yung sukat ni angle A plus sukat ni angle B plus sukat ni angle C plus sukat ni angle D ay equal siya sa 360 degrees. So again, sum of all angles or measure of all the sum of all the angles is 360 degrees. Okay, this is the quadrilateral tree. So, pangalanan natin yung family tree ng quadrilateral. So, yung una, ang tawag dito ay general quadrilaterals. So, it has four sides. So, meron siyang tatlong anak or tatlong subdivision. Ang tawag sa una ay trapezoid. Okay, trapezoid siya kasi ang trapezoid, it has one pair of opposite sides that are parallel. So, magka-halang or magka-parallel. So, pag nakakita kayo ng ganitong R symbol, ang ibig sabihin niyan, these two sides are parallel. Okay. Ngayon, may special type of trapezoid na ang tawag ay Isosceles Trapezoid. Sa Isosceles Trapezoid, okay, so these two sides are parallel. So, symbol for parallel yung arrow. And these two sides are congruent. Symbol ng magkasing haba ay yung symbol, yung maliit na dash sa gitna ng line. So, that is what you call congruent, magkasing haba. So, dito, yung side sa general, sa trapezoid, hindi siya magkasing haba kasi slanting to. Pero dito, magkasing haba kaya siya tinawag na isosceles trapezoid. So, ang sunod naman na type ng ating quadrilateral ay yung tinatawag nating parallelogram. Hindi kasya. Okay. So, parallelogram. Kapag sinabi namang parallelogram, two pairs of opposite sides are parallel. So, alin yon? So, ito ay parallel dito. Okay? Then, ito, two arrows, meaning parallel. Okay. So, itong pair na to ay parallel, at itong pair ng side na to ay parallel. Itong pair na to, kaya siya tinawag na parallelogram. Okay. Sa parallelogram, meron tayong may tatlong uri. Okay. Ang una ay rectangle. Okay? Pangalawa ay square. At ang pangatlo ay yung tinatawag nating rhombus. Okay. Sa rectangle, again, these opposite sides are parallel. These opposite sides are parallel. Parallel. Okay? Parallel. 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 So, this is the parallelogram. And the last one, ang tinatawag naman natin dito ay kite. Okay. So, kite is also a quadrilateral. So, hindi siya trapezoid, hindi rin siya parallelogram. Ang characteristics naman ni kite ay meron siyang distinct pair of sides or pair of sides that are congruent. So, ito ay congruent, magkasing haba, at itong side na to, tsaka yung side na to, ay magkasing haba. So, yun ang properties ng kite. So, as we go on to our discussion, I will discuss to you the different properties of different types of quadrilaterals. Definitions. Parallelogram. So, parallelogram, a quadrilateral with two pairs of opposite sides parallel. So, we can have this. Sorry. So, sabi dito, parallelogram, two pairs of opposite sides. So, ito yung first opposite are parallel. Second opposite are also parallel. Okay, so, this is a parallelogram. Now, a rectangle, so we have here, a rectangle is a parallelogram with four right angles. So, yun ang definition ng rectangle. So, meron daw siyang four right angle. So, pag sinabi nating right angle, pag nakakita kayo ng ganitong small square, yan is measures 90 degrees. So, that is 90 degrees. All measurement is 90 degrees. So, meaning, this is a rectangle. So, again, aside from having 90 degrees, this is of parallel, parallel, opposite sides, parallel, 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 parallel. So, that is a rectangle. Now, in a rhombus, it is a parallelogram with four sides congruent. Take note of the symbol for congruent. So, this is the symbol for congruent. So, four sides are equal. Okay, so four sides are equal. So, this is parallel, 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 parallel. If we have this 5 cm, for example, 5 centimeter, this is also 5 centimeter, another 5 centimeter, and another 5 centimeter. So, all sides have equal measurements. That is a rhombus. Now, for a square is a parallelogram with four right angles and with four congruent sides. So, ang square daw, meron siyang four right angle. Okay. Four right angle which are parallel, parallel, parallel. Okay. So, 90, 90, 90. And aside from that, all sides are equal. So, again, this is the symbol for congruent. Sorry, for sa rhombus, ganun din. Congruent. So, this is a square. May four equal sides. Halimbawa, ito ay 6, ito ay 6, ito ay 6, ito ay 6, ito ay 90, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. So, this is now your square. Ang tawag sa square, siya yung tinatawag na regular quadrilateral. Bakit sinabing regular quadrilateral? Kapag sinabi kasing regular, the sides or the measure of the sides are equal. Also, at the same time, the measure of all the angles are equal or congruent to one another. Kaya siya tinawag na regular quadrilateral. Properties of parallelogram. Number 1, opposite angles are congruent. So, opposite angles are congruent. So, sa square, sa rectangle, Since all angles are 90 degrees, okay, opposite angles, are congruent, measuring 90 degrees. Now, how about in a rhombus? So, sa rhombus, okay, so if this is 60 degrees, this angle, because it's opposite, that is also 60 degrees. Now, sabi kanina, ang measurement ng apat na angle ay 360. So, 360 degrees. So, paano natin makukuha ang measurement nitong dalawa? Okay. So, 360 daw yung apat. So, meron na tayong dalawa. So, 60 plus 60 is 120. So, i-subtract natin ng 120 degrees. Okay. So, 360 minus 120, ang sagot ay 240 degrees. So, meron pang natitira na 240 degrees. Ngayon, i-divide naman natin siya sa 2. So, 240 degrees divided by 2, ang sagot ay 120. So, 120 degrees. So, ang isa ay 120 degrees, yung kabila, 120 degrees. Now, is the opposite sides or opposite angles congruent? Yes, because this angle is 120, this angle is 120, this is 60, and this is 60 degrees. Therefore, opposite angles are congruent. Property number 2. Two adjacent angles are supplementary. So, ano pag sinabing adjacent angle or adjacent angle? So, pag sinabi nating adjacent angle, ito ay parang consecutive. So, if we have a square, we have rectangle, we have rhombus. Okay. So, again, this is 90. Okay. So, kanina, ito ay 90 degrees, 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 90 degrees. So, kanina ito ay 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 120 degrees, 120 degrees. So, sinasabi, two adjacent angles are supplementary. Kapag sinabing supplementary, this is equal to 180 degrees. So, kuha tayo ng magka-adjacent angle. So, ito. Dalawang ito, adjacent angle. 90 plus 90, 180. 90 plus 90, 180. 90 plus 90, 180. 90 plus 90, 180. So, two adjacent angles are supplementary. Dito naman sa rectangle, 90 plus 90, 180. 90 plus 90, 180. 90 plus 90, 180. 90 plus 90, 180. So, ganun din sa rectangle. How about in a rhombus? So, sa rhombus, we have 4 angles. Ang measures ay 120, 60, 120, and 60. So, adjacent angles, magkatabi, 60 plus 120 is 180. 120 plus 60 is 180. 60 plus 120 is 180. 120 plus 60 is 180. Property number 3. Diagonal of a parallelogram divides the parallelogram into two congruent triangles. So if we will have a square, let's name this A, B, C, and D. So, it says here, diagonal of parallelogram divides the parallelogram into two congruent triangles. So, if we will draw here a diagonal AC. So, diagonal AC divides the triangle or divides the parallelogram into two triangles. So we'll have triangle ABC and triangle ADC. And as we going to compare these two triangles, they are congruent. Okay. If we have here the next diagonal, if our diagonal is BD, so we have diagonal BD, so it produces triangle DAB is congruent to triangle DCB. Kapag sinabi nating congruent, yung sides, yung angles ay magkapareho dun sa dalawang triangle. Also, with rectangle, so sa rectangle natin, kung halimbawa ay E, F, G, and H, if we will have diagonal EG, so for our EG, we produce triangle EFG is congruent to triangle EHG. And if we will have this diagonal HF, so HF, diagonal HF will give us triangle HEF is congruent to triangle HGF. Also, with our rhombus. So, in our rhombus, we will have our rhombus. Halimbawa, KLM N. Okay. If we will have here diameter KM, so our KM diameter will give us two triangle. Triangle KLM is congruent to triangle KNM. Okay. So that is for the first diagonal. Then for our second diagonal, NL, so it produces two triangles. So triangle NKL is congruent to triangle NML. Property number 4. Two pairs of opposite sides are congruent. So in a square, so our square, if this is 5, so all sides measures 5. So opposite are congruent, 5 and 5. Opposite are congruent, 5 and 5. Then for our rectangle, so if this is 10, this is 10. If this is 4, this is 4. So two pairs of opposite sides are congruent. So this is the first pair that are congruent, 10 and 10. And this is the second pair of opposite sides that are congruent, 4 and 4. Then for our rhombus, so in our rhombus, all sides are equal. So opposite, so 6 and 6, then opposite, so we have 6 and 6. So two pairs of opposite sides are congruent. Diagonals of parallelogram. So let's start with rectangle first. So if I have here rectangle ABCD, and we have the diagonal AC and DB, okay, so the property is diagonals for a rectangle are bisecting and congruent. So, pag sinabi nating bisecting, so yung point, this is the midpoint, gitna. So, kung sinabi natin na bisecting, kung ito ay 5, ito ay 5. Kung ito ay 5, ito ay 5. So gitna yung pinag-intersectionan nung dalawa. Kaya siya ay bisecting. And at the same time, congruent. Si diagonal AC is congruent to diagonal DB. Okay? So, let's name this E. So, kay diagonal AC, pwede nating sabihin na si AE is congruent to EC. At para naman kay DB, si DE ay congruent kay EB. So, that is the diagonal for the rectangle. Number 2, property of diagonal in a rhombus. So, we will have here diagonal DF and diagonal EG. Okay. So, for our diagonal, so if we are going to draw this in a perfect way, diagonals are perpendicular. Perpendicular. Kapag sinabing perpendicular, ang kanyang intersection is 90 degrees. So, let's name this as H. So, the intersection is 90 degrees, meaning angle DHE is equal to 90 degrees. They are perpendicular. Also, diagonals are bisecting. Okay? Pag sinabi nating bisecting, si H is the midpoint. H of the midpoint of line DF and line GE. Meaning, DH is congruent to HF and GH is congruent to HE. Also, in a rhombus, diagonal is not congruent. Diagonals of the square. If I have here square IJKL, and let's draw the diagonal IK and JL. So we can say here for the square, diagonals are perpendicular. So ibig sabihin, yung kanilang intersection is 90 degrees. Let's name this M. Okay? So 90 degrees yung kanilang intersection. So yung angle I MJ ay equal siya sa 90 degrees. Okay, so that's the first property of diagonal of a square. Second, so diagonals are bisecting. Pag sinabi nating bisecting, M is the midpoint. Gitna is the midpoint of line IK and line or diagonal LJ. So, gitna iyon. Okay. And last, diagonals are congruent. So, meaning, si IK is congruent to LJ. J.